Hi everyone, welcome. Hopefully y'all can hear me. My headphones broke, so I'm using these. So today's recording didn't really go kind of great. I had an issue earlier in class meeting, so I'm recording this later in the day. Um, okay, so today what we were going to go over was chapter 1. And in the chapter, it does specifically have three subsections, one of them being values, motivation, and then goal setting. I really enjoy talking about values, which is why I really wanted to explore this a little bit more and just have today to talk about personal values. So that's what we're going to be discussing. Part 1, exploring personal values. Okay, and then some ground rules. Again, these sessions are recorded, and I'm going to post this hopefully today on the Canvas page. Uh, the rest of the information, hopefully you guys know by now, but make sure to, if you don't feel like having a camera on, you don't have to. And if you want to have a profile picture, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to mute yourself, you can make sure to mute yourself, and unless asked to be unmuted, or if you have a question. If you have any connectivity issues, go ahead and exit and then try to fix the problem and come back into the meeting. And then if I get disconnected, which is what happened today, and if I'm not back within 5 minutes, then just again, the class is essentially over and you could view the recording. And then lastly, these meetings are optional. You're not required to come in at 12:45 to 2:05 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I will be here having live Zoom sessions every Tuesdays and Thursdays until the end of the semester. During the class, we did have a student who was asking how to put a profile pic. So I'm going to go ahead and show that piece. So if you are not sure how to put a profile pic on your Zoom settings, it would be here on the main Zoom website. You would hover over here on the left-hand side, and you can go ahead and upload a picture. I've already done so. This is not me, I wish. You could change the picture and upload a new one, for example, but I'm pretty satisfied with Suki, which is this person right here. And then just click saved. So anytime you have your camera off, which I'll show you right now, my camera's off, then you should probably see Suki pop up. Okay. And let me go back over here. Okay, last week we talked about positive self-talk, fixed and growth mindset, and characteristics of a college student. I did wanted to remind you all about some characteristics and why for the first journal, I do want you guys to refer back to chapter 2 where it talked about success. So at the end of the presentation, I'll go over the Canvas page so you can see the assignments that are for the journal. Was this still recording? Okay, sorry. Oh my gosh, this is a disaster. Okay, so agendas. This is what we're going to talk about, personal values. Mainly today, we was going to focus on value exercise, this activity that I had planned, quote of the day, and then any assignments that are due. Okay, personal values. So in the chapter, it briefly talked about and defined what values are, and it defines it as your personal values are your core beliefs and guiding principles. Really just to kind of make this a little bit simpler to understand, it's essentially what you find the most important to you. Okay. And the book does also talk about different stages of values. As we kind of go through different ages and age groups, our values tend to change. depending on where we're at that moment, as well as where our mindset is, our goals are, our future is really at that moment. So, for example, the first one is ages 18 to 26. They tend to make choices that are tentative, more short term range, and support a desire of for autonomy or interdependence. Ages 27 to 31. This is my age group. And these are young adults, may rethink decisions and lead towards more permanent choices. So oftentimes, a lot of our values do think about our decision making process, and there tend to be values and decisions that are a little bit more stable because we are slowly starting to think about the future. And then ages 32 to 42, adults tend to have a greater sense of commitment and stability because oftentimes people in this particular age group have families or thinking about families, thinking about having a set career in mind, steady income, providing for their families, providing for themselves, having a home, things like in that sort. But I also wanted to mention, like, at the end of the day, you guys have your own personalities. And, even if maybe you're not in the 32 to 42-year age group, maybe you yourself are just someone who really tends to be more committed to certain things or prefer stability versus risk. But in the book, it does mention that oftentimes the younger you are, the more riskier you are with your choices. And then as you get older, you become less riskier. And then just to further expand on values, each person has different values. It does depend on your experiences. It could also depend on the people around you, your parent, your guardian, your brother and sister. Sometimes that environment, it reflects on how your values are shaped. Our values can help us decide what is important or not important in our lives. And I think this is really important. And it's also important to always revisit your values, especially after you kind of pass this sort of threshold, like the certain age. I remember when I first really kind of sat down and thought about my values, I was definitely younger. And it wasn't until recently that I started to think about my values again, because really it was because of my personal uh, career and like life satisfaction. So I started to really think about, like, well, maybe some of my values have shifted a little bit because certain things that were important to me are maybe not as important to me as of now. Values impact our decisions every day. And then knowing your values is important because values guide decisions about your future. So not only are they guiding everyday decisions, but really future decisions. And they could be really small, tiny decisions to even huge decisions. For example, like small decision to me could mean like you're invited to maybe go to a concert and you decide you don't want to go, and they maybe people will be like, why not, it's like one in a lifetime experience and da da da. And you could be like, well, my the reason why is because at right now, my main important thing is financial stability, and this concert cost is like an arm and a leg. So, you know what? I think I'm gonna maybe hold off on it. And I know it's gonna be fun, but at this moment, I really need to be financially stable, and that includes not going to concerts. Okay, so that decision could be based again on the value because of financial stability, because that is most important to you at the moment. And then this could even lead to bigger decisions, maybe decisions on leaving a job, for example, or maybe even leaving a relationship or staying in a relationship. as your values again shift and change and you start to understand what is important to you, you start to guide your decisions based on those values. And then values can help with career, not only in the career itself, right? But sometimes what the career has to offer. So you may choose a specific career because they may potentially offer you a specific amount of money, status, relationships, or maybe meaningful work, as well as, other values that are personal to you and that satisfy your own personal values. Um, and I think this is important to include because I think more now than recently, I've seen that a lot of people are starting to leave their careers, not only their jobs but their careers. Jobs, like jobs that are maybe short term, maybe like retail jobs or being a cashier or like a server. Sometimes people leave those jobs after a certain amount of time because they know they're not going to be there for a while. But careers, people sometimes, especially now, we've been seeing a lot of the shift of people leaving their long-term careers. And I don't know if anyone's looked into that, and I would love to hear if you have. But for me, it definitely, I feel like it aligns with the individual's personal values. And I think a lot of their values have changed and shift. And the companies or your supervisors are having to really find a way to kind of meet those values, your values. And if they don't, and then you feel at the time like, you know what, this is just not somewhere I want to be anymore, then you may end up leaving that career or that job that you've had for maybe a long time. So job satisfaction really ultimately, I think, is that it deals with your personal values. When you are not happy in your career, you want to look at why is that, especially if at one point you were. If I can speak on my own personal experience, there was years ago, I was super happy starting a position and I was there for a couple of years. And then as I slowly start to go through the years, I realized that I wasn't as happy anymore. I wasn't as satisfied anymore. And to be honest, I started to kind of dread going to work. I was like, and I saw it as a work. I didn't see it as my passion anymore. I saw it as like, oh, I just need to go because, this is my job. And I started to really think about like why, what changed? Did the company change? Did I change? um, and then I did notice that I myself started to change. What again I valued the most at the time when I started versus where I was at that point is was completely different. And I did talk to my supervisor about it, because I did have a great supervisor who always cared about where her employees were at. And ultimately, what I found most important, they unfortunately couldn't provide. And that led me to a big decision to leave the company and start somewhere else and find something, a different company and position that did offer me what I was looking for at that time. So, again, I think it's very important to, especially with career, to really look at your values. And if you feel like you're unsatisfied with it, then it could be because something has shifted, whether you yourself have shifted in what's important to you, or maybe your career has maybe moved into a different direction. And then ultimately, the decision to stay in a career or not also goes to your values, right? Some people, even if they're not fully satisfied, they might just stay because their main important value is family. And because of that, they're like, well, if I quit this job, then I won't be able to provide for my family or have time with my family. So, and then lastly is relationships. Values can definitely help with relationships, whether you should stay in a relationship or not. Um, kind of like in the first bullet point, it mentions about each person has different values, and we do. But sometimes in relationships, you will hear people say that you should find someone with similar values to you. And that's where a lot of people tend to be most successful in, is people that have very similar values than yourself, which I do believe is true. And but I also want to emphasize, like, even if we have very similar values with our partner, sometimes those values are ranked a little bit differently, and that's where again the relationships could potentially suffer or crumble, because even though we may have the same values, like, oh, I want a family, or I want, um, be I want you to take care of me, I don't want to work, things like that. Sometimes they may be like, well, actually, I don't want to have a kid right now. I know I want to have a kid, but maybe not right now. So things like that, where maybe for you right now, this is what's most important, but in your relationship, your partner, even though it's a value, like, even though, like, oh yeah, they want to have a family, maybe at this time, it's not the most important thing. And even though you guys have that as a value together, you both want to have a family. Maybe you want to start that family now and they don't. And that's where, again, sometimes relationships start to kind of crumble. So I do think it's always important to, before starting in a very committed relationship, to look at your values, because when you go into it, you definitely want to be clear and transparent on what is most important to you. Okay. And then also, um, understanding what's important to them, and revisiting that conversation in a couple of years or months, especially if you feel like, again, kind of like the career, like if you start to feel like you're not as satisfied or maybe happy in the relationship, it could be going back to maybe the values have shifted. So again, values are really important. They go into different areas of your life. It's a topic that I've always been interested in. I can't talk much about it, but much more, but I just wanted to kind of get an idea of where values really kind of are placed in different areas of our life. So from that being said, now that we've defined values, we want to go ahead and get into the values exercise. So it's going to be a little bit odd since I don't have anybody here with me, but I'll do my best to go with the exercise. And if you guys want to follow along, that would be great. What you want to do is grab a piece of paper, or maybe it could be a Word document, a Google Doc, etc. Anything really to write down. I don't know if I can hold it like this. Sorry. And you want to go ahead and write down these 3 columns, which is not important, somewhat important, and very important. Okay. In the next couple of slides, I will be providing you with some value card statements, and each card describes something that may represent a personal value to you. Look at the card. You're going to go ahead and look at the card. Oh, sorry. And then after looking at the card, you're going to place it under not important, somewhat important, or very important. Okay. And this could be anything. It could be a really personal value. It could be relationships. It could be college. It could be career, etc. You're just going to look at the card and the statement, and then you're going to decide, is this like super important to me to have in my life? Is it not important? Or is it maybe important, which is what the somewhat important is. Okay. So I have my piece of paper here. Okay. So I'm going to be doing this with y'all. And let's get started. I don't know if you guys see this little thing right here. Make this just a little bit bigger. Okay, so again, I'm going to be going through the cards. They're going to appear in the statement, and you get to decide if they're super, like very important to you. Maybe they're in the maybe pile, which is somewhat important, or are they just simply just not important to you to have in your life? Okay. This is going to go quickly because these cards, you really don't want to spend too much time thinking about them. They should be very instinct. So once you see the card, just whatever your gut feeling is of where you think it should go. And if you're kind of like, I don't know, then it might be in the somewhat important pile, the maybe pile. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first one is achievement. This is to have important accomplishments. Okay. The second is art, to appreciate or express myself in art. Then we have acceptance, to be accepted as I am. Authority, to be in charge of others. Adventure, to have new and exciting experiences. And attractiveness, to be physically attractive. And this is speaking to you or other people, Okay, the next set of cards, excitement, to have a life full of thrills and stimulation. Fame, to be known and recognized. Family, to have a happy, loving family. Flexibility, to adjust to new circumstances easily. I'm not sure. Go here. Friendship, to have close, supportive friends. And generosity, to give what I have to others. Okay, then we have genuineness, to act in a manner that is true to who I am. Growth, to keep changing and growing. Health, to be physically well and healthy. Honesty, to be honest and truthful. Caring, to take care of others. And cooperation, to work collaboratively with others. Then we have independence, to be free from depending on others. Intelligence, to keep my mind sharp and active. Justice, to promote a fair and equal treatment for all. Leadership, to inspire and guide others. Hope, to maintain a positive and optimistic outlook. And humor, to see the humorous side of myself. Okay, I believe you have 2 more slides. Challenge, to take on difficult tasks and problems. Wealth, to have plenty of money. Stability, to have a life that stays fairly consistent. Self-acceptance, to accept myself as I am. Spirituality, to grow and mature spiritually. And service, to be helpful and service of others. Okay, I believe this is the last one. Safety, to be safe and secure. Risk, to take risk and chances. Power, to have control over others. Provide, to provide for and take care of my family. Purpose, to have meaning and direction in my life. And responsibility, to be guided by reason, logic, and evidence. Okay. So for the rest of the activity, I'm going to go ahead and read you some instructions. Make sure to have your paper ready. So mine looks like this. Hopefully y'all can see. So what you want to do is when you look at your 3 different columns, you want to go ahead and only focus on the somewhat important and the very important column. So what I'm going to do is actually highlight these 2 columns. You know, and essentially you want to remove the not important. Okay. From the somewhat important and very important columns, you want to go ahead and only select 8. Okay, so some of you may have something like mine where it's like a couple in there. Maybe some of you have maybe less than 8. If you do, then that's great. But if you do have more than 8, go ahead and look at both of these columns, the somewhat important and the very important, and decide which of these are like really the most important, and you're going to be only selected 8. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put a little star next to the value. You could put a circle, highlight it, whatever you want. So only 8 though. Okay. And I guess this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, this. Okay, one more. Okay, I'll do this. Okay, some of you, it may be really quick and simple. Some of you may take time. What's nice about this recording is, you know, you can pause and take your time. You can go back and look at the slides as well, since I'll be posting them on the Canvas page. But just so that the recording's not too long, I'll go ahead and continue. So from these 8 that you selected, what you want to do now is narrow them down to only 5 choices. Okay, so 5 statements or values that are really important for you to have in your life. This one. One, 2, 3, 4, one more. Okay, go with this one. Okay, I've chosen my 5. Hopefully you have as well. If not, feel free to take your time. Now, from these 5 that you've chosen, go ahead and rank them in order from 1 through 5, with number 1 being your super duper very important, and then 5 being your least, you know, important out of all the important ones. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the activity. I have my 5 right here. And then the next part of it is really just the reflection, which I think is the most important and really fun part about this. And just a couple of questions that you may want to think about as you're reflecting and looking at your top 5 values. So first could be, was it difficult for you to choose 8 out of all the ones you had? Maybe what about narrowing it down to 5? Was it simple for you? Really, how was your overall experience about, putting these in the very important and the important and narrowing them down? Uh, Second question that you may want to think about is why did you put these cards in the particular order? Are you surprised about your number one choice? What about your last choice? You know, another question is, was there a value that you were debating on? Maybe you were kind of going back and forth and saying, like this is important, but is it top 5 level important? Which one ended up being your number 6? Which one didn't make the cut? And what made you decide to not include it in your top 5? And then how do these values show up in your actions as well as your decision making? Okay. So again, these are really great mindful exercises for you to think about. This is really more for you guys to really sit there and think about it and reflect on it. I do want to let you know, which I didn't say it earlier, is that these is based loosely on the no Dale card sort, and I'll put in the link of the one that's in the book that they recommended. I did include all the values. There's more. Plus, you also have to keep in mind that maybe there was some values in here that really didn't reflect any of you. Maybe there's like nothing that kind of stood out to you. In that case, like you could kind of make your own value card sort, right? You can sit down one day and just really think about what is important to you right now. And it doesn't have to be just one word. It could be a full-on sentence. It could be picture, an image, anything like that. Okay. But if you're curious to know what mine were and which ones I was debating on, so my top 5, the first is health, which I'll be honest, I think because now that I'm getting older, I'm really like, I need to take care of my health. My neck be cracking right now, and like I get massive heartburn when I eat a burrito, and that's not okay. And I'm pretty sure it's because I'm getting older and haven't been taking care of myself for years. So health is my top priority right now. Family and friendship, humor, and wealth. Those are my top 5. Definitely curious to see if any of you would like to share your top 5. If you do, feel free to send me a chat or an email. Um, and I would love to hear them. And then the one that didn't make the cut was hope. No lies. It was adventure. It was adventure. I was debating between that one because I do like to go out there and be a little adventurous more now than before, but I still am very kind of like, let me just focus on these top 5 for right now. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the exercise. Some key takeaways. Values bring about a sense of purpose and self-awareness of what is important to you, and that's what really this activity was, is about bringing self-awareness. Values help with personal relationships, career, college, and workplace satisfaction. Values may change as you move through life. So, always important that to reevaluate and recheck your values every so often, especially if you're not satisfied in your current relationships or personal life. Values set the direction for one's life and help with making decisions. Sorry, my dog. What you choose to do with your life also has everything to do with your values. And today's quote of the day was actually a submission by William. So thank you so much, William. And his quote was, "A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new," by Albert Einstein. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I get to maybe I'll showcase it on Thursday as well, since I didn't get to showcase it today. And then next time on Counseling 20, we do have a live Zoom session on Thursday, September 9th. The topics will go over goal setting and motivation. And if you haven't already, make sure to submit your survey. It is due today. And then I also wanted to go over a new assignment that we have, which is the journal number uno or number one. So let me go ahead and log into Canvas to show that part. Okay, this is what the journal is. You want to go ahead and write a one-page essay defining what success means to you in college and beyond. Include at least 3 characteristics of a successful college student outlined in the OER textbook. This will be found on page 38. And then to help you with developing this essay, you may want to consider some of these questions. So that's what they are. They're considerations. You don't have to necessarily answer all these questions, but I know some people need extra help in writing a paper. So I wanted to kind of give you some prompt questions that maybe can get your head turning a little bit and you're kind of get an idea of what to write about. Okay. So one could be finding a quote that best summarizing what your definition of success means. Why does this quote represent? Oh, my internet. What people do you consider to be successful and why? What is your definition of success? How will you achieve it? What is the biggest change you need to make in order to be successful in college? And how will you know you've achieved your success? Okay, this is due September 12th at 11:59, which is this upcoming Sunday. All right, so that's it for today. Hope to see you guys again on Thursday. Take care. Bye bye.